There is a moment when the soul becomes still, a moment when the noise of the world softens just enough for something ancient and familiar to be heard again. A whisper, like wind brushing across the eternal, calling you home. Not to a place, not to a religion, but to yourself. And in that sacred stillness, a truth emerges that changes everything. God does not test you, life reflects you. The clouds in the sky are not responsible for the sun's light, nor can they extinguish it. They only appear to cover it. And so too with the experiences of your life. They are not judgments from a distant God who watches you from afar and issues tests to prove your worth. No. Life is not a cosmic classroom where God plays the role of examiner and you are the trembling student hoping to pass. Life is a mirror, and you are the artist painting what you believe onto its surface. The divine does not give you hardship as punishment. The divine is not some cruel overseer tallying your failures and rewarding your pain with trials. The divine is pure love, unconditional and ever-present, and what you meet in the world is not divine wrath, but your own reflection, filtered through your beliefs, your wounds, your thoughts, and your identity. You were never being tested. You were being shown over and over again, not for the sake of suffering, but for the sake of seeing. The circumstances you attract, the people who appear, the pain you face, they are not punishments, they are projections. They are the echoes of your inner landscape made visible. Life is not something that happens to you, it is something that flows from you. You are not the effect, you are the cause. And when you understand this, not just in your mind, but in your bones, something begins to shift. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what within me is ready to be revealed, healed, and released? This is not blame, this is liberation. Because if life is reflecting you, then nothing is truly against you. If life mirrors your energy, your expectations, your self-concept, then you are never powerless. You are profoundly free. Free to choose again, free to see again, free to remember who you truly are, beneath the conditioned thoughts, beneath the childhood stories, beneath the societal masks. You are not here to be tested. You are here to awaken. The idea that God tests you comes from fear. It comes from the wounded child inside you that learned to equate love with performance, acceptance with suffering. It comes from generations of conditioning taught to revere a God of judgment rather than a God of love. But God is not watching you, God is within you. And not just within you as your breath, as your being, as your every sacred step through this human experience. The divine is not outside, waiting to reward or condemn. The divine is the source of your consciousness, the silent space between your thoughts, the formless awareness witnessing the play of your life. God does not sit on a throne in the clouds, handing out suffering like lessons. No. The presence of God is like the sky, vast, unshakable, and always there, no matter the storm. Life reflects your storm, not God's will. When you carry unworthiness in your heart, life will echo it through rejection. When you believe you are alone, life will mirror it through abandonment. When you fear you are not enough, life will paint it in every face that fails to see your worth. But this is not a test, it is a revelation. It is the universe holding up a mirror and whispering, look, not to judge, but to free. Because you cannot change what you do not see. And life in its infinite love is showing you all that stands between you and your divine self. Not to harm you, but to heal you. If a child falls while learning to walk, do you say the floor is testing him? Of course not. You recognize it as part of growth. And the same is true of you. Life does not test you, it teaches you. Not through punishment, but through patterns. Not through suffering, but through reflection. Everything in your life is feedback, not verdict. And yet, how often we mistake the mirror for the cause. We look at the reflection, the pain, the heartbreak, the failure, and we cry out to the heavens, why me? But the real question is, what is this showing me? Not what did I do wrong, but what is ready to be undone. There are no enemies in your life story, only mirrors. And some of them are sharp, some of them hurt, some of them shatter the illusions you've clung to for years. But even these are not there to break you. They are there to awaken you to the truth. You are not the story. You are not the wound. You are not the identity formed in fear. You are the awareness behind it all. You are the ocean, not the wave. And when you remember this, not just intellectually, but spiritually, you stop fearing what shows up. You start welcoming it as a messenger. Even the painful parts, even the losses, even the betrayals. Because now you know they are not tests from God. They are reflections of what is seeking transformation within. The world outside will always echo the world inside. You cannot plant seeds of fear and harvest peace. You cannot dwell in lack and expect abundance to flow. You cannot carry resentment and expect love to bloom. But you can choose again, and that is your power. You were made in the image of God, and that means not an image of form, but an image of essence, of creation, of intention, of divine authorship. And authors are not at the mercy of their story. They shape it. So the question is no longer, why is this happening to me? But what story am I writing with my thoughts, with my beliefs, with the vibration I carry into each moment? This is not about shame. This is not about blame. This is about awakening to the truth of your spiritual authorship. You cannot control every event, no, but you can transform the energy you bring to it, and by doing so, you shift what it reflects back. If you want the world to reflect peace, be peace. If you want the world to reflect love, be love. If you want the world to reflect abundance, live from gratitude, not grasping. If you want the world to reflect wholeness, stop seeing yourself as broken. Because the world is not testing your strength, it is showing you where you forgot your strength. The world is not punishing your choices, it is unveiling the beliefs behind them. And those beliefs are not you. They were given to you, often unconsciously, often in pain, but you do not have to keep them. You can return them like an old costume that no longer fits the light that now radiates from within. You are not your fear. You are not your failure. You are not your family's limitations. You are not your history. You are the light that sees all of it and still chooses love. And that love is your divine inheritance. Not because you earned it, but because you are it. Let go of the idea that you must earn God's favor. You cannot earn what is already yours. You can only remember. You can only return. Life is not a test you must pass to be worthy of love. Life is a reflection inviting you to see where you stopped loving yourself so you can return to it fully, fiercely, unapologetically. Because when you return to love, you return to God. Not as something separate, but as something essential, something eternal, something that has always been the truth of you. The light was never gone. You just forgot it was inside you. You were not sent here to suffer through divine experiments. You were not tossed into life as a subject in some celestial laboratory to be examined, graded, or judged. That is the projection of a mind that still believes in separation. That is the voice of ego disguised as humility. The voice that says, I am small and the universe is vast and cruel. But the truth is this, the universe is not against you. The universe is in you. And it responds not to your words, not to your fears, not to your begging. It responds to your essence. It reflects your vibration like a mirror reflects your image. It doesn't decide what to reflect, it simply shows what is already there. And so when life seems cruel, ask gently, what am I holding that hurts so deeply to be seen? When life is silent, ask, what truth within me have I ignored for too long? When patterns repeat, ask, what in me has not yet been met with love? Because the external world is the outpicturing of your internal beliefs. Your relationships echo your sense of worth. Your work mirrors your self-expression. Your finances reflect your inner trust in abundance or fear of lack. Even the way strangers treat you often reflects how you have learned to treat yourself. You are not being punished. You are being illuminated. That ache in your chest is not a divine burden, it's a call. That betrayal you endured is not a karmic slap, it's a mirror inviting you to release the story that says you are not safe to trust. That loss you carry is not proof of cosmic cruelty, it is life showing you that clinging is not the same as loving. You are not cursed. You are not forgotten. You are not being tested by some distant hand in the sky. You are being remembered by life itself. Life is a sacred teacher, not a cruel examiner. And every soul you meet, every event you endure, every challenge you face, they all carry one secret message, whispered beneath the noise. Come back. Come back to the truth of what you are. When you were born, you came into this world with no beliefs, no fears, no shame, no guilt, just awareness, just being, just light wrapped in form. And then slowly, unconsciously, you were taught how to see yourself. You were taught how to measure your worth. You were taught to fear rejection, to seek approval, to earn love. And as you adopted these beliefs, beliefs that were never yours to begin with, life began to reflect them. Not as punishment, but as guidance. Life is a faithful mirror. It cannot reflect what is not there. It simply shows you what you have chosen to carry. So, if the world feels heavy, it is time to put something down. If people continue to abandon you, it is time to stop abandoning yourself. If chaos surrounds you, it may be time to return to inner stillness. This is the great shift, the sacred inversion from believing that life is happening to you to realizing that life is happening through you. And when you awaken to this, everything softens. You stop fighting the waves and learn to float with them. You stop yelling at the mirror and begin to change the one who stands before it. And yet even this knowing is not a cause for self-blame. This is not about condemning yourself for the reality you've experienced. It is about awakening to your participation in the creation of it and claiming your power to choose again. You are not a victim of life. You are the very essence from which life emerges. You are the consciousness that calls it forth. You are the light that gives form to the formless. And the formless, that which we call God, does not sit above you with tests in hand. That formless is the field in which all things arise. It is not measuring your performance, it is dancing with your frequency. The divine is not grading you, it is responding to you. Not because it is emotional, not because it is personal, but because it is pure reflection. And that means this: if you want to change the world, you see, you must change the self you bring to the seeing. You cannot beg the mirror to smile unless you first smile yourself. You cannot scream at the water to become still unless you still your hand. You cannot demand love from a world that reflects your fear of being unlovable. The change does not begin with life. The change begins within you. This is the freedom the ego fears the most because it means there is no one else to blame, but it also means there is no one else in your way. You are the painter. You are the canvas. You are the brushstroke and the vision. And life is the gallery wall, displaying your inner masterpiece in every moment. So what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe you deserve? What do you believe God is? Because your answer to those questions will show up not just in your prayers, but in your patterns. Your patterns are your living theology. They show you what you really believe, not what you say you believe, but what your soul has come to accept as truth. And when you see that your life has been built upon beliefs that do not serve you, do not love you, do not honor your divine nature, that is not a moment for shame. That is a moment of rebirth. You can begin again not by trying to fix the reflection, but by loving the one who casts it. You do not need to control the world. You need only to come home to the part of you that believed it had to. The ego says, I must fix the outside so I can feel peace. The soul whispers, be peace, and the outside will reflect what I have become. This is not philosophy. This is physics of the soul. Consciousness creates reality. Emotion is energy in motion. What you radiate, you recreate. What you suppress, you attract. What you forgive, you free. What you bless, blesses you. And the great illusion of separation, the lie that says, I am here and God is somewhere else, that lie is the root of all suffering. Because the moment you believe you are separate from the divine, you begin to believe that life must be earned, that love must be proven, that suffering must be deserved. But none of that is true. You were born worthy. You were born whole. You were born light wrapped in flesh. And even though you forgot, even though you were taught otherwise, even though the world mirrored back a story of lack and fear, that light has never gone out. It cannot be taken. It cannot be tested. It can only be remembered. And life, beautiful, painful, miraculous life, is the great remembering. Each mirror you encounter, whether gentle or jagged, is a divine invitation. Will you recognize yourself in this? Will you reclaim the power you gave away? Will you love the part of you that forgot how lovable it truly is? This is not about denial. This is not about spiritual bypass. It is not about pretending pain is pleasant or that trauma is illusion. No, this is about facing all of it with the deepest truth in your heart. You are not being punished. You are being revealed. And the more you awaken to that, the more your life begins to reflect a higher truth, not the story of who you've been, but the radiance of who you truly are. When the clouds pass and the light returns, you do not accuse the sun of hiding from you. You understand it was always there, steady, unwavering, faithful, and so it is with your true self. You were never forsaken. You were never diminished in the eyes of the divine. You only stood in your own shadow. You only forgot to turn inward. The pain you carried was not proof of divine punishment. It was the loud knocking of suppressed truth, trying to be felt. The repeating heartbreaks were not signs of a cursed life. They were echoes of the same inner belief playing on loop. I am not enough. Not because it was ever true, but because it was learned. And what is learned can be unlearned. What is remembered can be rewritten. And what has been wounded can be witnessed back into wholeness. Life is not God's judgment. Life is your echo. It is your frequency and form. It is your self-talk made manifest. It is the invisible inner dialogue playing out on the stage of time and circumstance. And if that dialogue is built upon fear, unworthiness, guilt, and shame, then life must echo it because the mirror cannot lie. But if that inner dialogue begins to shift, begins to soften, begins to remember the truth that you are divine, that you are enough, that you are safe, then life too begins to shift. Not immediately, not all at once, but inevitably. For just as your reflection in water does not smile until you smile first, life cannot show you peace until you choose to carry it within. And oh, how often we have misunderstood this. How often we have begged the mirror to change. How often we have pleaded with life to give us a sign, to send us a break, to end the storm, not realizing that the storm outside is often the only way the soul can get our attention within. Because the soul is not interested in comfort, it is interested in truth. And truth, at first, can feel like fire. It burns away illusion. It scorches what was never real. It dismantles everything built on fear and calls you into the great vulnerability of surrender. But beyond the fire, there is clarity. Beyond the collapse, there is liberation. And beyond the breaking, there is a deeper blooming than you have ever known. You see, the tests you thought were from God were not tests at all. They were mirrors. They were messages. They were sacred whispers clothed in chaos. And all along, the question was not, will you pass this test? But will you finally see that nothing outside of you can define you? Not your failures, not your heartbreaks, not your trauma, not your achievements, not your titles, not your bank account, not even your pain. Because the divine never asks for your perfection, only for your presence. Not for your proof, only for your remembrance. Not for you to pass the test, only for you to see that the test was never real. There is no celestial scoreboard. There is no divine disappointment. There is only the unfolding of your own awakening, moment by moment, mirror by mirror, breath by breath. And what grace it is, what divine genius, that life is structured this way, that no matter how lost you feel, no matter how many times you forget, the world keeps reflecting exactly what is asking to be seen within you, so that nothing is wasted, so that even your darkest hour becomes a teacher, so that every mistake is just a doorway to deeper awareness. You are not broken, you are breaking open. You are not late. You are right on divine time. You are not being judged. You are being refined. And every person who has triggered you, every moment that has brought you to your knees, every painful mirror that has reflected back your fears, they were not there to condemn you. They were there to awaken you to your own false beliefs. Beliefs you no longer need to carry. And when you begin to see this, truly see it, something inside you begins to shift. You stop needing to defend. You stop needing to prove. You stop needing the world to be different so that you can feel safe. Because now, your safety does not come from the outer world, it comes from your inner alignment. Your peace no longer depends on who stays or who goes. Your joy no longer hinges on the outcome. Your worth no longer swings on the pendulum of external approval. You become rooted. You become spacious. You become still in a way that shakes the ground beneath old stories. And from that stillness, a new reflection begins to form. Life begins to echo back not your wounds, but your wisdom. Not your fear, but your faith. Not your ego, but your essence. And this is not magic, it is alignment. This is not superstition, it is spiritual law. You are the seed and the soil. You are the sun and the shadow. You are the one you have been waiting for. And the world, beautiful, shimmering, responsive world, is your canvas, your mirror, your sacred partner in awakening. It will not lie to you. It cannot. It will always reflect the vibration you carry. Not to hurt you, but to help you remember. To remember that God is not the author of your suffering. God is the light within you, calling you to rise above it. To remember that your life is not a punishment, it is a projection. To remember that the outer world is only ever showing you the state of your inner sanctuary. And when the sanctuary is cleansed, not with effort, but with awareness, not with striving, but with surrender, the world begins to transform with it. Because transformation does not begin with what you do. It begins with who you are being. And who you are underneath it all is divine. You came into this world radiant with divine light, not half of it, not a portion, not a fragment, but the fullness of it. Before you could speak a single word, you were the language of God made visible. Before you could grasp a single concept, you were the truth in motion. You had no idea of separation, no idea of lack. You didn't yet know what shame was, or judgment, or comparison. You simply existed unfiltered, unconditioned, untouched by identity. But then the world began to speak, and you listened. And in the listening, you began to forget. Not forget your name, but forget your nature. Not forget your goals, but forget your grace. Not forget the people around you, but forget the divine presence within you. You were taught rules, expectations, roles. You were told who to be, what to believe, how to act. And so you split. You became two selves. The true self that was eternal and the outer self that sought to survive. The true self that only wanted to shine and the outer self that learned to hide. And yet, life continued to reflect you. Not the soul you forgot, but the identity you became. Life began to mirror not the essence of your being, but the mask of your mind. It began to echo your beliefs, your wounds, your conditioned fear, because those were now the energies you were projecting. And here's the sacred paradox. Even that was not a mistake. Even your forgetting was part of the remembering. Even your pain was part of the purification. Even the false self you built was allowed to exist so that one day, in the face of its collapse, you could finally return to who you really are. This is the divine rhythm of awakening. Not a ladder to climb, not a test to pass, but a circle to complete. And in every moment, yes, even the hard ones, you are being called back to the center, not punished, not failed, but called. Called to return to the you that never needed to be fixed, only freed. You see, the mirror of life does not lie, but it also does not blame. It is neutral. It is sacred. It is wise. It gives you back exactly what you give it, so that you may know yourself more clearly, so that you may come home to the parts you abandoned, so that you may reclaim the wholeness that was never truly lost, only hidden. And the longer you chase external change without internal awakening, the more distorted the reflection becomes. It is like shouting at a pond to stop rippling, even as you continue to toss stones into it. You must change your vibration, not your circumstances. Your circumstances are just the echo. You must shift your consciousness, not force the outcome. The outcome is just the reflection. You must awaken to your true nature, not manipulate your environment. The environment is only your mirror. And this is why many spiritual seekers remain stuck. They try to use spirituality to manipulate life, to pass the test, to earn the prize, not realizing that there is no prize greater than presence, no reward more divine than remembering God is not holding the finish line. God is the wind in your lungs, the stillness in your spine, the eternal within the temporary. God is not testing your devotion. God is reflecting your belief in separation and waiting for you to remember there was never any distance at all. There is no out there. There is only you and the mirror, you, and the projection, you, and the infinite playground of your own awareness, made visible through time and space, and what freedom lives in this knowing. Because now you don't have to wait for life to get better in order to feel whole. You don't have to wait for others to change in order to find peace. You don't have to control the future or fix the past or explain the pain. You need only return to the stillness. You need only drop beneath the story. You need only ask one sacred question. What is this showing me? And then listen not with fear, but with love. Because whatever arises, no matter how uncomfortable, is not there to destroy you. It is there to show you where love was left out and where it is now ready to return. That is all healing is. The return of love to the places it was once denied. And life, your divine companion, will keep bringing you back to those places again and again, not as punishment, but as sacred opportunity. Opportunity to choose again, to love again, to be again, to see not just the reflection, but the light that creates it. And when you see clearly, you no longer fight with life. You dance with it. You respond instead of react. You bless instead of curse. You learn to thank even the discomfort, because you know it is carrying a message, not a judgment. And that message is always this: come home. Come home to your power. Come home to your peace. Come home to the divine in you. Not because you passed the test, but because there was never a test to pass. Only a light to remember. Only a truth to reclaim. Only a self to reawaken. The mirrors you fear are often the ones most ripe with grace. That angry person, that harsh experience, that moment that cracked your heart wide open, they are not detours. They are awakenings, dressed in the garb of discomfort. They are not there to punish, but to peel away the layers of who you never were. They are invitations back to the center of your being, the divine still point beneath all suffering. The stillness where you do not need to prove or earn or beg. The stillness where you are enough, not because you finally succeeded, but because you finally stopped pretending. All this time, the reflection you called life was never trying to defeat you. It was trying to wake you up. Wake you up from the trance of forgetting, from the story of separation, from the illusion that you are anything less than sacred. And yes, some mirrors were painful. Some people arrived as storms, shaking the very ground you stood on. Some moments shattered the illusions you clung to. But even these, especially these, carried the fingerprints of grace. For it is often through our breaking that the light most clearly enters. And it is often through the mess of our becoming that the miracle is born. You were never asked to pass a test. You were asked to see what within you still believes in separation, to see where you've withheld love from yourself, from others, from this moment, to see where you have clung to the identity of the one who must suffer, and then to release it, to drop it like old skin, to surrender it, not in weakness, but in radiant trust, the kind of trust that comes when you finally understand there was never anything wrong with you. There was never a reason to be tested. There was only a forgetting. And now there is a remembering. You are not a student under judgment. You are a soul returning home. And home is not a place you arrive at after proving your worth. Home is the space you discover when you finally lay your burdens down and remember you were never separate. You were never alone. You were never unworthy. You were never forsaken. The storms you passed through were not cosmic punishments. They were reflections of your inner weather. They were the outward echoes of forgotten pain. But even in the storm, the light never left you. Even in your lowest moments, the mirror remained faithful, unblinking, honest. And now, perhaps for the first time, you can look into that mirror and no longer see shame. Now, you can see God not as someone above you, but as the light behind your eyes. Now, you can see life not as a test to be endured, but as a masterpiece in the making. Now, you can meet your reflection and say, I remember. I remember that I am not this ego, not this fear, not this history. I am not my failures. I am not my patterns. I am not my trauma. I am the awareness that watches it all. I am the light beneath the story. I am the divine, made visible for a little while, learning how to love again. And this is what life has been reflecting all along the journey, not toward perfection, but toward presence. You do not need to win your life. You need only to return to it, to live it fully, to see clearly, to love bravely, to forgive relentlessly, to shed the illusion of being tested and step into the truth of being revealed. And when you do, the reflection changes, not because the mirror has power, but because you remembered the one who does. When you stop waiting to be worthy, life stops reflecting unworthiness. When you stop clinging to pain, life stops offering lessons in suffering. When you stop asking why it's so hard and start asking what within you is calling to be healed, the path softens. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. And in your change, the mirror shifts. In your surrender, the storm clears. In your return, the illusion dissolves. There is nothing more to prove. There is nothing more to earn. There is only this breath, this sacred, miraculous breath. And in this breath, God is not far. God is not testing. God is here. God is the witness, the breath, the space, the spark. God is not handing out suffering. God is holding you in love, even when you forget what love feels like. And when you begin to live from that truth, when you stop seeing yourself as the tested and begin living as the presence behind the mirror, you become a walking reflection of grace. Not because you finally passed, but because you finally saw that there was never a test. There was only a path back to wholeness. And now the path is open. The walls are gone. The story is burning gently at your feet. And in its place, stillness, radiance, the quiet knowing that you are free. Free to let go, free to walk in love, Free to see the world not as a battle, but as a blessing. Free to meet every moment not as a threat, but as a mirror of your inner light. And oh, how that light shines now. Not because it is new, but because it is remembered. And when light is remembered, everything changes. The mirror reflects joy. The world reflects peace. Life becomes what it always was underneath the fear, a sacred echo of your own divinity. And so you rise, not because you finally earned it, but because you finally stopped dimming the truth. You rise in the fullness of your presence. You rise in the beauty of your surrender. You rise in the knowing that nothing was ever missing, only misunderstood. And now the misunderstanding is over. You see clearly. You walk gently. You live awake. You are not being tested. You are being reflected. And now, at last, you reflect love. And in the still hush of that final realization, the soul rests, not in victory, not in performance, but in peace. The soft thunder of truth echoes across your being. And in the silence that follows, you are free. There is a sacred moment in every soul's journey when it finally stops running, not from the world, not from failure, not even from pain, but from itself. A moment so quiet it cannot be heard with the ears, yet so loud it echoes through lifetimes. That is the moment of awakening. And it is not found in striving nor earned through suffering. It comes when you realize this one truth. You cannot move forward holding on. It's a simple sentence, almost forgettable, yet within it lies the entire path to peace, to love, to healing, to liberation. And like all great truths, it doesn't need your agreement to remain true. It only asks for your surrender. But that, for many, is the hardest part, because we cling not only to what hurt us, but to what shaped us. We cling to old identities, to past betrayals, to outdated beliefs, to fear disguised as loyalty, to guilt disguised as love, to pain disguised as purpose. We say we want freedom, but we carry chains of memory around our neck like heirlooms. We say we want peace, but we fuel wars inside our minds with stories of how it should have been, how they should have acted, how we should have known. But life is not lived in the should. It is lived in the now. And now this breath, this moment, this heartbeat is not waiting for you to fix the past. It's waiting for you to release it. Letting go is not forgetting. It is remembering who you are without the burden. It is not denial. It is deeper acceptance. It is saying, I no longer choose to be bound by what no longer serves the becoming of my soul. And that is not weakness. That is not spiritual bypassing. That is the courage of a soul who has seen the fire walk through the ashes and no longer wishes to carry the smoke. You were not born to carry resentment like a badge. You were not created to wear your pain like identity. You were not placed in this body to rehearse tragedy or cling to stories that diminish your light. You are not the wound. You are not the betrayal. You are not the shame. You are the awareness that sees it, the presence that observes it, the light that transcends it. But that light cannot move if you keep anchoring it to old storms. The past is not a place you live. It is a classroom you pass through. And if you don't leave the classroom, you cannot graduate. If you keep rewriting the same paragraph of pain in your mind, how can the next chapter begin? The story of your life is not meant to be one sentence on repeat. It is meant to evolve, to rise, to grow wings. But first, you must loosen your grip on the weight. Ask yourself gently, what have I been holding on to that is holding me back? Is it an apology I never received? A mistake I made years ago? A love that didn't stay? A parent who never saw me? A self-image rooted in survival but starving my spirit? These things, real as they were, are not real now. They are echoes. And you, dear soul, are not an echo. You are the sound. You are the presence. You are the living, breathing miracle that was never meant to dwell in shadows. The ego will tell you that letting go is losing, that forgiveness is weakness, that your pain is power, and to release it is to betray yourself. But the ego is the voice of fear, and fear is clever but not wise. It will try to convince you that if you let go, you'll lose control. But here's the paradox. Only in surrender do you find real control. Only in release do you find peace. Only in unclenching do your hands become free to receive the gifts of now. There is no freedom in reliving the betrayal. There is no healing in reopening the wound. There is no love in rehearsing your unworthiness. So when will you stop? Not because you're forced to, not because someone told you to, but because your soul is tired of dragging yesterday into today, because your heart is heavy with stories that no longer speak your truth, because somewhere deep inside you remember what it felt like to be free before the world told you to be ashamed, before life convinced you to fear, before you mistook survival for identity. You are not here to survive anymore. You are here to live fully, freely, boldly, and living cannot happen in reverse. Release is not a moment. It is a practice, a daily offering of the soul, a choice to say, today, I no longer participate in my own imprisonment. It's waking up and gently, without blame, without shame, placing one thought after another on the altar of surrender. It's saying to your mind, thank you for protecting me, but I don't need this story to be safe anymore. I don't need this pain to remind me who I am, because who you are does not come from what hurt you. It comes from what lives beneath the hurt, the silent stillness, the space between thoughts, the observer who never changes, no matter how much your story does. This observer, this divine spark, is always whispering, let it go. Let it go so you can rise. Let it go so you can feel joy without fear. Let it go so you can move forward not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Let it go not because it didn't matter, but because you do. And that's the heart of it. You matter more than the memory. You matter more than the injustice. You matter more than the approval you never got. Your peace matters more than your need to be right. Your freedom matters more than the familiar pain you've rehearsed for years. But to honor your worth, you must be willing to unclench, to stop worshiping the pain as teacher and begin seeing it as doorway, to stop bowing at the altar of memory and begin dancing in the sanctuary of now. Letting go is not something you do once and forget. It is something you live. It is a frequency you choose, a vibration of lightness, a declaration of trust, trust that you are safe without the story, trust that you are held even in the unknown, trust that the future does not need your wounds to build itself. It only needs your presence. And the present, this sacred, miraculous now, is always whispering, come home. Come home not to who they wanted you to be, but who you were before the world taught you to hold on. Come home to your breath, to your body, to your being. You cannot move forward holding on. Not because you're bad, not because you're broken, but because life is motion and clinging is a form of spiritual paralysis. You were not made to stay stuck. You were made to evolve, to open, to expand. So loosen the grip just a little. Breathe into the space that opens. Trust what rises to the surface. And listen, truly listen to the still voice within that's been waiting, not for your perfection, but for your willingness. The willingness to be free. There is a place beyond thought, beyond pain, beyond identity, where all that remains is awareness, pure, infinite, undivided awareness. It does not grieve the past. It does not fear the future. It does not hold on. It simply is. And this place is you. The eternal you. The you that cannot be damaged by what they said. The you that cannot be diminished by what happened. The you that doesn't seek validation, doesn't chase worth, doesn't collect grievances as proof of identity. That you is still here, beneath the layers, beneath the noise, beneath the stories that you keep recycling, like old photographs, whose colors have long faded, but whose emotional residue still stings. You keep returning to the wound because some part of you believes healing is found in the familiarity of pain. But healing is not found in rereading the same chapter. Healing is found in the decision to close the book. You don't have to destroy it. You don't have to burn the pages. You simply have to stop opening it every morning as if your worth is still written there. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become in the space after. And that space, that divine, limitless, quiet space, is where your power has always lived. The power to let go, to forgive, to transcend, not because it makes what happened okay, but because it frees you from the prison of identifying with it. The greatest act of liberation is not marching out into the world demanding change. It is turning inward and saying, I refuse to suffer twice. Once for the event, and again for the memory of it. That is radical freedom. That is soul maturity. That is awakening. To awaken is not to fix yourself. It is to remember you were never broken. It is to gently, lovingly begin removing the masks. The one that says, I am a victim. The one that says, I am not enough. The one that says, I must be strong by never letting go. Strength is not resistance. It is surrender. It is the surrender of the false self, the one built on defense, on survival, on gripping, so that the true self can emerge. And when it does, oh, how light the world becomes. Because suddenly, you are not walking around armored by trauma. You are walking around open, vulnerable, whole. You are no longer echoing the past. In every relationship, every silence, every expectation, you are present, here, awake. And presence, true presence, has no room for yesterday's ghosts. The mind will try to tempt you back. It will whisper, but they never apologized. It will shout, but you were wronged. It will plead, but if you let go, who will protect you? Let it speak. Let it cry. Let it roar. And then smile at it the way you would smile at a child who still believes monsters live under the bed. Because fear is a child, and the ego is its bedtime story. But you are the parent now. You are the one who says, shh, it's okay. We don't need to hold on to that anymore. We don't need to keep the pain to feel safe. We are safe now. We are loved now. We are free now. And in that moment, the soul exhales, because the soul has always known letting go is not loss. It is return. It is the return to your nature, to your wholeness, to the place before fear taught you to close, before shame taught you to shrink, before pain taught you to pretend. You don't have to pretend anymore. Not to be okay, not to be strong, not to be what someone else needed you to be so you could feel loved. Love does not ask for pretending. Love only asks for presence. And presence cannot enter a heart that is clenched. Unclench, let the light in. Let it find the parts of you that still believe pain is proof. Let it bathe the corners of your spirit where old voices still live, repeating old verdicts. You're not worthy. You're too much. You should have known better. Let the light find those voices and show them the door, not with anger, but with compassion. Because they were trying to protect you once. But you don't need protection now. You need truth. You need softness. You need grace. And grace is what arrives when you let go. It does not enter through the door of control. It enters through the window of surrender. It drips down like rain on a dry desert soul, refreshing, forgiving, soothing. And once you felt it, truly felt it, you will never again mistake holding on for strength. So breathe, and as you breathe, feel the weight begin to lift, not all at once, but breath by breath. Let each inhale be a promise. I choose life. Let each exhale be a release. I surrender the rest. Because holding on is not sacred. Letting go is. Holding on is not loyal. Letting go is. Holding on is not love. Letting go is. Love says, I want you to be free, even if you is a version of yourself still stuck in yesterday, even if you is someone who hurt you but doesn't have power over you anymore, even if you is the person you thought you had to be. You don't. You don't have to be anything today except free. And to be free, you must make peace with the fact that the past will never be different. And that's okay. It doesn't need to change for you to heal. It only needs your willingness to no longer carry it as your identity. You are not here to avenge the past. You are here to resurrect the present. You are not here to prove your pain. You are here to embody your light. And that light, oh beloved, that light was never lost. Only hidden beneath layers of thought, of memory, of identification. But light is not destroyed by shadows. It only waits to be uncovered. Uncover it, not tomorrow, not next year, now. Because every day you wait is a day you feed what no longer serves you. Every moment you delay is a moment you remain bound, and you were not born to be bound. You were born to remember. You cannot move forward holding on. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because you were never meant to stay in one place, especially not one built from pain. You are fluid. You are ever-changing. You are movement itself. Life through you wants to dance, not dwell. Wants to rise, not ruminate. Wants to create, not cling. So step into that stream. Let go of the banks. Trust that where it takes you is exactly where your soul has been trying to go all along. Freedom is not in the future. Freedom is in the decision to stop gripping the past. Let go. Let go, because the moment you do, your soul will rise, not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as what it has always been beneath the story, a miracle. And miracles don't hold on. They flow. There comes a moment when the soul is no longer content with just surviving, when getting by, hanging on, and pushing through start to feel like spiritual starvation. When even your most convincing justifications for pain begin to sound hollow in your own ears. This is the moment of divine dissatisfaction, not with the world, not with others, not even with your past, but with the false self you've outgrown. Because pain has an expiration date, but only you can choose to honor it. You are not here to rehearse hurt until it becomes your home. You are here to outgrow it, transcend it, gently set it down like old clothes that no longer fit. And that's the thing about holding on. It often feels like protection when it's really stagnation. It feels like strength when it's really resistance. It feels like identity when it's really avoidance. Avoidance of truth, avoidance of presence, avoidance of the sacred emptiness that comes before transformation. But emptiness is not something to fear. It is the womb of rebirth. The ego will do everything it can to avoid this void. It will bargain, analyze, justify, and distract. It will fill the space with noise, with judgment, with replays and projections, because the ego knows that if you sit in the silence long enough, you will remember who you really are, and the ego cannot survive in that remembrance. Because in truth, you are not the one who was abandoned, betrayed, or rejected. You are the one who witnessed it. You are not the character in the story. You are the light that holds the entire story. You are not the mistake. You are not the regret. You are not the sorrow. You are the sky, and these were only passing storms. So why build a house beneath the clouds? Why stay anchored to a moment that no longer exists? Why continue to argue for your pain as if it gives you meaning? You do not need pain to prove your depth. You do not need sorrow to prove your strength. You do not need struggle to prove your value. You, beloved, are valuable because you exist, not because you endured. You are worthy because you breathe, not because you suffered. This is the cosmic truth. You are already enough, already whole, already free. You only suffer when you forget. And forgetting is easy in a world that teaches you to collect wounds like currency. You are praised for your scars, but not your healing. Admired for your endurance, but not your peace. Celebrated for your hustle, but not your stillness. But healing is not a performance. Peace is not applause. And stillness is not laziness. It is presence. Presence that allows you to finally say, I am ready to let go. Not because I am weak, but because I am done confusing pain with purpose. I am done mistaking familiar for right. I am done feeding a story that keeps me small. The story is not who you are. It's who you were when you didn't yet know how free you could be. And you are learning now, you are beginning to see that the only chains still holding you are the ones you keep feeding with your focus. That memory only has weight when you choose to lift it. That pain only echoes when you keep calling its name. You are beginning to see that letting go is not erasing it, is evolving. You are not deleting the past. You are releasing its grip on your future. You are not abandoning what shaped you. You are honoring what you've outgrown. And just like the tree does not mourn the leaves it sheds each autumn, your soul does not grieve the stories it no longer needs. It rejoices. It dances. It rises lighter into the sky of infinite becoming. Let yourself shed. Let yourself become. Let yourself be free of the need to fix what never needed fixing in the first place, because your worth, your divinity, your light was never broken, only buried. Buried beneath layers of not enough. Buried beneath they don't love me. Buried beneath I failed. Beneath they left. Beneath I should have done more. But you cannot breathe deeply when you are buried in shame. You cannot rise when you are wrapped in guilt. You cannot love when you are still holding on to a version of yourself who was only trying to survive. It's time to rise, not by force, but by release. Not by adding more, but by surrendering what never belonged to your essence. The pain was never yours to keep. The betrayal was never yours to carry. The guilt was never yours to wear. These were experiences, not definitions. Events, not destinies. Chapters, not conclusions. So take a breath, and with that breath, send love to every version of yourself who didn't know how to let go, to the one who stayed too long, to the one who held on too tightly, to the one who thought that by carrying the pain, they were proving something noble, something holy. And then, with your next breath, release them. Let the younger you rest. Let the sorrow be seen, then dissolve. Let the river of now carry away the residue of yesterday, not with effort, with grace, because grace is the rhythm of the soul when it's finally free from pretending. You don't have to pretend anymore, not to be fine, not to be strong, not to be perfect. You only have to be present. And in presence, there is no room for clinging. Clinging requires tension. Holding on creates resistance, but your soul was made for flow, for expansion, for becoming, and all becoming begins with release. This is the paradox of the spiritual path. We rise not by reaching, but by releasing, not by striving, but by softening, not by gripping, but by trusting. Trust the letting go. Trust the space that opens when you no longer identify with your pain. Trust the silence that comes when the ego stops shouting. Trust the you that emerges when the past is no longer your mirror. You are not what you lost. You are what remains, and what remains is more than enough. So here you are, standing at the edge of a new moment. A moment untouched by your past, untainted by your fears, and unburdened by your stories. A sacred threshold. And the invitation has never been clearer step forward. But you cannot step forward with clenched fists. You cannot move into light while gripping shadows. You cannot rise in truth while wrapped in yesterday. The soul longs to soar, but it cannot fly while you're still tethered to the anchor of what once was. And so you must choose not with the mind, not with logic, not with fear, but with faith. The faith that what lies ahead is more aligned with who you are becoming than what lies behind. And that is the real miracle of letting go. It's not the disappearance of pain, it's the appearance of peace. It's not erasing the story, it's rewriting your relationship to it. It's not pretending it didn't matter, it's realizing you matter more. You are the main character of your life, not the villain of someone else's. You are the author, not the victim. You are the creator, not the captive. But to create, to author, to move you, must put the old pen down. The one that only knows how to write in grief, the one that only sketches in scarcity, the one that doesn't yet believe in your joy. Hold your own hand now, and let the sacred in you rise up and say, no more. No more giving my energy to what cannot love me back. No more feeding the past with the power of the present. No more trading my future for familiar suffering. And in that vow, that sacred, silent vow, you are born again. Not into perfection, but into permission. Permission to love without fear. Permission to forgive without conditions. Permission to be whole without apology. There is nothing noble in keeping your pain alive. You do not need to honor it by repeating it. You do not need to prove your endurance by wearing it. What you went through shaped you, yes, but now your liberation will define you. The ego will say, but if I let go, who am I? And the soul will whisper, finally, yourself. The self that is free of shame, because it remembers that mistakes are part of growth. The self that is free of resentment, because it recognizes that carrying poison does not heal the wound. The self that is free of the need to perform, to prove, to punish, because it has finally come home. And home is not a destination. It is a state of being, a return to presence, a return to peace, a return to the divine. And that's what letting go truly is. It is a return, not a loss, not an ending, not a giving up, but a homecoming, a sacred reunion with your true nature. And in that reunion, there is no room for guilt, no room for proving, no room for replaying what already happened 1,000 times in your mind. There is only breath. And this breath, this holy inhale and exhale, it does not live in yesterday. It does not carry your story. It does not ask who was right. It only asks, are you here? And so I ask you now, are you here? Are you in this breath? Or still lost in a moment that no longer exists? Are you ready to rise? Or still bargaining with a version of yourself that was built on survival? Are you willing, not perfectly, not forever, just in this moment, to let go? To let go of the old pain, not because it wasn't real, but because your healing is more important. To let go of the resentment, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. To let go of the story, not because it didn't shape you, but because it no longer defines you. You are allowed to be new. You are allowed to walk away from the pain. You are allowed to lay down the guilt. You are allowed to stop carrying your suffering as proof of your worth. You are allowed to be light. And so, in this moment, choose. Choose freedom over familiarity. Choose peace over performance. Choose presence over pain. Let go. Let go. Let go. Not just once, not just today, but as a practice, a rhythm, a way of life. Because this moment, this sacred now, is waiting for you, and it has no room for what you refuse to release. So unclench, exhale, come home to yourself, and remember You cannot move forward holding on. But the moment you let go even just a little, the universe moves with you. The stars lean closer, the wind shifts, and your path, once clouded by grief, opens with grace. This is your time, not to forget who you were, but to become who you are. Not to avenge your past, but to embody your peace. Not to prove your story, but to live your truth. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not your ego. You are not your fear. You are the light that has waited patiently beneath it all. And now that light is ready to rise. Let it move through you. Let it love through you. Let it speak, dance, sing, weep, awaken. Let it be your truth. Let it be your guide. Let it be your home. Because your soul was never meant to carry the burden of what no longer is. It was meant to live in the beauty of what always was. And what always was is you free, whole. Now,